All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results, positive or not.
To the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome back, everybody, and happy Friday. It is the De La Fit podcast. I'm so excited. We have a great guest with us today. We have Brooke Write. That's right, Miss Write herself. Certified entrepreneur, wellness planner, and mentor. She will be here discussing how we can navigate around those negative thoughts. That's right, those thoughts that seem to stop us from progressing and succeeding. Brooke is going to give us some pointers, 3 steps of power in order for us to open up the doors to success. So I'm greatly excited about this. I hope you all are excited as well. So we're not going to dawdle. We're going to get right into it. Introducing our interview with Miss Brooke Write. What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.
360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, that is the De La Fit podcast. I am your host, Philly's #1 son, the Body Alchemist, and I am here with Miss Brooke Write. Brooke, I am so excited to have you here and to discuss this topic, which is how to control the thoughts that limit us from being successful. Now, I know you have a plethora of information. I've been reading about you on your website. You've written a book. You've got a lot of information, a lot of things going on. So let's get right into it, because we got people that are listening in many different platforms. I want you to tell us a little bit about you, how you started this whole journey.
Yes. Well, blessings, everyone, and thank you for having me. So a little bit about me, I guess I would say it really started back in 2013. And when I first started, actually, I was on a healing journey. And that was because, I went through my own traumatic situations growing up. And so that's how the first book happened. I was just writing about, my own pain and my own situations. And the first book was really just about mental health and how to really heal from things. And so since 2013, I just, been on this healing journey. And for those of you who know about healing, when you're on this journey, one thing leads to another, you start with healing and you start tapping into the mindset and emotional intelligence and et cetera, And so one thing after another. And then I would say it was in 2016 actually when the entrepreneur in me actually finally kicked in. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was in high school, but it took me a while to really get into the industry. So in 2016, I first started, I had a social media management agency actually, and I was doing that for about 3-4 years. I just actually closed down shop at the ending of last year. And to be honest, the only reason why I closed down shop was because it just wasn't as meaningful to me anymore. I didn't really feel like I was really doing something that was in alignment with my purpose, and so I decided like, okay, well, why not do something that, of course, that I'm passionate about? And so over the years, I've always been mentoring and coaching people. I just never really made it into a business. It was just something I was doing out of the passion of my heart. And so I decided, you know what? Why not incorporate these two things together, these two passions together? I am passionate about healing. I am passionate about the mind, body, and spirit. And I'm also passionate about entrepreneurship. And I just realized, like, I've always been doing this. I've always been helping people anyway. So why not actually create this business? And so I decided to do this full time. And that's what I've been doing all year, whether it be like through public speaking, workshops, actually coaching and mentoring people. That's pretty much what I do now, is just help millennial entrepreneurs heal their mind, body, and spirit in order for them to actually achieve their goals and be successful.
That's awesome. The fact that you honed into your purpose of what you wanted to do with the rest of your life, I think that's amazing. One of the things I like, so excited from the fact of I get to do this and talk with other impassioned individuals who are eager to experience their purpose. So I want to get into this because we're talking about our purpose. We're talking about, some people might say, passion. Why is it that we have these negative thoughts, and how do we begin to control them so that we can kind of let them go to the side, in order to continue to achieve?
So how do we let them go? Well, it starts with, so I have this 3-step method for people that I coach, and in order it's acknowledge, accept, and achieve. And so the first step, first and foremost, you need to acknowledge yourself, right? You need to acknowledge the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the behaviors, and the habits that are holding you back. And that's where that healing comes in, right? And it's funny because when we talk about success, I realize that not many people talk about the internal healing that you actually have to do, to achieve your goals. Because if you look at many successful people, that's what they did, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. They knew they had to let go of the thoughts that were holding them back. They had to let go of the feelings that were holding them back. They had to let go of the habits and the behaviors that were holding them back. And so that's why I think it's so important for entrepreneurs to tap into that, right? So in the acknowledgement phase of my coaching program, that's what we really get down to. We have to acknowledge and be self-aware of all these things that are self-sabotaging. Once you get down to that and you start to really write things down, and you're really aware of what's going on within you as to why you can't achieve these goals, as to why, certain things hold you back. And then it'll be more easier, on your journey of entrepreneurship and on your journey to actually achieve your goals on a consistent basis. So what are some of the choices individuals can make that will allow them to start achieving? What are some of the choices also that we make that hold us back as well? I think that's something that, a lot of the listeners might want to understand, because we make these choices, whether we can acknowledge them or not. What are some of these things that we say to ourselves to get over that? First, to answer the second question first, I think that's important, is again, it comes back to the acknowledgement part, right? It's like you have to start acknowledging in these moments of, when you're on this journey, when you're trying to achieve a goal, when you're working on a project, or whatever the case may be, it's acknowledging that your fears, right? It's acknowledging your doubts. It's acknowledging what is causing you to procrastinate. I think that's one of the biggest things, honestly, that hold people back from achieving their goals is procrastination and inaction, and indecision. And if you are on this journey and you are into reading self-help books, you'll see that in a lot of self-help books, they say the same thing. And especially one of the famous books, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he says indecision and inaction is actually one of the biggest reasons as to what holds people back from achieving their goals, right? But then when you tap into that, and it gets even deeper, because when you tap into that, because why do people procrastinate? Why don't they take action? And then it comes back down to our fears, our doubts, and indecision, right? And it really is this whole, almost like a spiral, if you will. You got to get down to the root of it all. Because if you don't, then it's every single time you encounter an obstacle or a roadblock, or every single time that you're ready to, or you have an idea and you want to put this into reality, the reason why you're stopping yourself is because of the fears and doubts, right? But if you don't know that, then it's going to be hard for you to continue on your journey and to, again, continue to be an achiever. And then so to answer your first question of like, what can people do to overcome that? Again, it comes back to acknowledgement, right? And you have to acknowledge first, because you can't change anything if you don't know what needs to be changed. And I think that's what's so key. Like, you know, so that's what's so key. Like once you really know what needs to be changed, then you can change it. And then once you know it needs to be changed and you're willing to change it, then it's up to you to be dedicated into making that action, to taking that action to change yourself, right? Because no one can change you for you. No one can help you achieve your goals. No one can make you successful. You have to do it. It's all about the self, and you have to be the one dedicated to making that internal shift, right? So once you acknowledge all these fears, once you acknowledge all these doubts, once you acknowledge all the behaviors and the habits that come up that prevent you from achieving your goals, then it'll be easier for you to overcome and change that, right? And make that internal shift.
So one of the things I've noticed is, how do we start to let go? Because letting go is something that's very hard. I know there are things I carry with me that I hold on to. I mean, I'm a Cancer. I'm not going to lie. So, you know, we tend to hold on to things and bury deep into the ground. But how do we start that process of letting go in order to be successful? Like you're saying, acknowledging that, you know, because we can acknowledge it, but letting go of it is a total different story.
So that actually comes into the second part of my coaching. So after acknowledgement is acceptance. So once you start to accept, you know, your past, your present, once you start to accept all these thoughts, feelings, beliefs, behaviors and habits that are holding you back, then it's up to you now to accept that you want to change that, right? So it's a step-by-step process, of course. But once you get into this mode of like, okay, you know what, I'm ready to accept this. I'm ready to accept, you know, how I got here and how I got to this place in life. I'm ready to accept now that I'm about to make a whole change and to move into a different phase in my life. And so, you know, when it comes to letting go, I really strongly believe in this quote as well. If you think you can, then you can. If you think you can't, then you can't. And so, you know, even just like you said, you know, this is how I teach my clients as well, is like, what you think and what you believe is the most important thing, actually. What you believe is the most important thing. So if you tell yourself, well, you know what, I can't let go, well, that's a belief you're telling yourself. And then, of course, your mind is gonna follow that belief. Your body's gonna follow that belief, and your spirit is gonna follow that belief. So you really have to shift that as well. Your beliefs are really important. And so when it comes to letting go, it's really about changing your beliefs. You know, you got to change. Okay, well, you know what? I can let go. You know, I can change. I can shift. I can do this. I can do that. And then once you get into that thought process of I can, and I will, then you'll start to see that internal shift. But again, it comes down to your beliefs, right? So yes, it can, quote unquote, be hard to let go if you believe it can be hard to let go. But if you believe that it can be easy to let go and it can be easy to change, and it can be easy to make a shift, then it can. But it really comes down to, again, and that's why the acknowledgement part is important, the acceptance part is important, because you know, you have to acknowledge your thoughts, you know, and these are the kind of thoughts that hold people back is, oh, well, I can't let go, you know, or, you know, it's really hard to let go. But yeah, it's only hard, honestly, if you keep telling yourself that, right? So that's why it's important to shift that mindset, to shift and reprogram, as what people are saying nowadays, to reprogram their mind, their thoughts, their feelings, beliefs into that state of like, no, I can do this. I will do this, you know, and once you get into that state and once you start feeling those vibrations, start thinking those thoughts, then you'll notice that the shift is actually easier than you think.
One of the listeners, First Lady B, she's listening in right now, and she was agreeing. She was saying, as I can, I will, basically agreeing with you as to what it is that you're saying. It's restructuring the mind and restructuring how we believe things. So let me ask you this. So we're going from that fact of restructuring, but what about when we get stuck? We feel stuck because sometimes there's other circumstances. It's not necessarily us. Say it might be other peripheral things on the side. How do we get unstuck on our journey?
Well, this is the truth, right? And some people don't like to hear it, but everything comes down to the self. Everything. You know, everything that's happening outside of us, it's true. Everything that is happening outside of us is things that are happening within us, right? We are attracting what's happening. And so when we feel stuck, again, it comes back to taking that time to acknowledge, like, why do you feel stuck? What are the thoughts that are making you feel stuck? What are the feelings, the thoughts, the beliefs, all that kind of stuff I was mentioning before? What makes you feel stuck? But there's this 3-step thing that I also like to talk about. So I like to call it the 3 R's to being a winner or an achiever. And it's perfect for when you do feel stuck in life. And in order, it's basically, you have to build the ability to respond, reflect, and then to be resilient. And so when you feel stuck, the most important thing is our perspective in life, right? And so, when you feel stuck, you have to learn to just, okay, look at that situation that you feel stuck in and, reflect on it. And it comes back to the acknowledgement phase. Reflection is key. Self-reflection is key. Reflecting on your environment, reflecting on your own habits, your own actions, your own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Reflection is so important. And then once you acknowledge and reflect that, why you're stuck and why you feel stuck, then you can move into the second phase, which is learning to respond to that, right? Because many times it's like when people, especially entrepreneurs, when they feel stuck, they react versus respond. And when you react, usually that's not a good response, right? Because usually our reactions are so quick and then we don't take the time to breathe and say, okay, you know what, how can I respond to this situation? How can I respond to these thoughts? How can I respond to these feelings? How can I respond to my own behaviors and actions? And then when you get to that.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Mode of learning to respond versus react, you'll see a huge difference, right? And the easiest way, honestly, to do that is to just breathe. You just have to stop. You don't have to rush in life. You just have to stop, take a step back, and again, just take the time to reflect. Because once you take the time to reflect, then you'll learn how to respond. And then once you learn how to respond, then you'll be building up that power of resilience within you, right? Because then now, anytime you feel, quote unquote stuck, that resilience power within you is just going to naturally, come out. And then anytime you feel stuck, you won't feel stuck for so long because that resilience is what takes you forward, right? So it's just about, going in order of just learning to reflect, learning to respond, and then learning to be resilient when you feel stuck.
So in a sense, taking account of what's going on around you and being more of within yourself than being of what's going on around you. Exactly.
Because again, what goes on around us is usually because of what's happening within us, right? And then you'll notice that, okay, once you go through this acknowledgement phase and start self-reflecting, you'll see that. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't take it in before, but now I see why this is happening. I was thinking this into existence, or I was feeling this into existence, or, I was feeling too doubtful, or I was feeling too fearful, or I wasn't taking action here. And so this is why I feel stuck. Because usually that's really what it is. When you feel stuck, it's because of something that you are doing or are not doing.
Right. Which you sort of, you did this so well. You segued into the other question, which is improving the mind and body and spirit to achieve your goals. From what you're saying, this is a road that takes work. This is a lot of internal work. So how do we start this for anybody that's listening, for our people who are listening in the live streams? How do we begin to do this? What would be one simple step that you would say we can start to improving the mind and then connecting it to the body and the spirit?
Yeah, so again, it all comes back to acknowledgement. It really does. It comes back to self-reflection. And so, when it comes to the mind, body, spirit, and this is actually, let me rewind a little bit just so I can kind of dive a little deeper. So the mind, body, spirit, I like to say is the 3 energy sources of our human body, right? And before we even talk about success, and before we even talk about entrepreneurship, people have to understand that it is our mind, body, and spirit that affects our overall well-being. Right. And for those who don't know, the well-being is what? Your overall state of happiness, healthiness, and your level of security or comfort. And so, if your mind, body, and spirit is what drives your well-being, right? Again, your happiness, healthiness, and security, then of course it's important that you take care of your mind, body, and spirit. And in order to do that, you have to come back to acknowledgement. You have to come back to, okay, what thoughts am I consistently thinking? What feelings and beliefs and behaviors and habits am I consistently, giving into? And how is my energy on a daily basis? So, once you tap into this and once you start to acknowledge, I would say to always start with the negative, if you will. Always start with actually what's holding you back, because again, it comes back to what I said earlier. It's like you can't change things that you don't know what needs to be changed. And so really take an acknowledgement of the thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your habits and behaviors. First and foremost, all the negative ones that are holding you back, and really writing them down, really digging deep, really taking time to self-reflect is what's going to help you to tap into that mind, body, and spirit to help you achieve your goals. And then I think you asked me another question, right?
I was saying, how do you begin to connect that part to the body at that point? So, because of course it all starts with the mind, and I think that's where you were going. You were connecting it to the body and then the spirit.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The thing is, like, they're separate, but they're all intertwined at the end of the day. So once you'll see, once you start to work on your mind, you're automatically going to start working on your body and automatically going to start working on your spirit. So although they're separate, they're still connected, and as we all know, it does start with our mind. It does start with our thoughts, because our thoughts control our lives. And it does also, one thing that is so key when it comes to this journey as well, that I see a lot of people are kind of forgetting to talk about, is your feelings. Because it's like, when you talk about law of attraction, for instance, a lot of people think it just comes down to their thoughts, but really it's law of attraction equals law of vibration, and which equals law of action. And so again, once you start to tap into your mind, you'll automatically see your body starts to make a shift, and then you'll automatically see your spirit starts to make a shift. And then once those things start to make a shift, your energy starts to make a shift. And then when your energy starts to make a shift, you're going to see that it's going to be so easy and simple to consistently take action.
No Fear, one of our listeners from out of Pittsburgh, he asked a question, and the question was, he struggles with, I guess, starting that whole process. Well, not really starting, but once he started the process, just keeping it organized when it comes to that journey and limiting those thoughts. So how do we organize those thoughts, or organize what we're doing in order so that we can start to limit those negative thoughts? I know, you've already broke down the steps that we need to follow, but organization can also be an issue for many of us, even if it's just the thoughts that are in our head. How do we begin to organize these things so that we can take account?
All right, so I hope you guys are ready for this, because this practice has really helped me, and this has helped so many people that I mentor and coach. All right, so when it comes to organizing your thoughts, this is the easiest, most simple way. When you have a negative thought or a fearful thought or a thought of doubt, right, the easiest thing to do is to agree or disagree with it. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't do anything else. When a thought comes into your mind, so say, for example, I'm just throwing out an example. Say you're a public speaker, and, a fearful thought comes into your mind of like, oh no, I'm scared to do this. I don't want to do this. As soon as you get that thought, catch it. Don't ignore it. Catch it. Acknowledge it. And then tell yourself if you agree with it or if you disagree with it. And that's the easiest way to organize your thoughts, right? Because it's just easy. 2 categories, whether you agree with things or you disagree with things. And the more you agree with the thoughts that are holding you back, that's how powerful they become. But if you start to agree with the good thoughts that come into your mind, that's how powerful they come, right? So again, it's about choosing and being acknowledged, and acknowledging the, negative versus positive thoughts. So I would say to try that practice of the agree versus disagree, and then see where that takes you. And then when it comes to organizing overall, this journey, I would say to start with habits, right? So start with 1 to 3. Don't overcomplicate yourself again. I would say start with 1 habit. So, it could be every single day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to journal the thoughts that I'm feeling for the day. Or, it could be anything. There's so many different habits that people do that help them to tap in. So, some people listen to motivational speakers, some people journal, some people meditate, some people pray, and, it's all about praying for the better. It's all about praying for the shift, praying for the change, or meditating on the shift, meditating on the change, whatever you're doing. So I would say just to start with one habit that that you can commit to every single day for at least 30 days, at least. Right? And then you're going to start to see a shift happening. But that's just an easy way of you organizing this process. And then when it comes to the mindset, again, just organize it in the way of like, I agree versus I disagree.
Drinking Mercury from Detroit, Michigan, he asked the question, how do I help friends to achieve success? Is the process the same?
How do you help friends? Well, I would need more insight, I guess. What do you do? Are you a coach? Are you a mentor? Are you just a friend? I would need more insight into what you do. But again, it comes down to, well, that question is to be honest, that question is very vague. It depends on the situation and depends on exactly what your intentions are. But I would say when it comes to supporting anyone in life, the best thing you can do is just to be a support. Because at the end of the day, we can't make people successful. They have to make themselves successful by making that internal shift within. And the greatest thing that you can do too, if you're on your own journey of success, the greatest thing you can do is just be the best example that you can be, and then just hope that people follow you. Because through my early days, especially in like mentoring and coaching, or even just honest healing journey. And I think a lot of us teachers make this mistake is that we think that we can kind of just go to our family and friends and kind of feed them all this information and hope that they just drastically change with us. But it doesn't work like that. What I've learned is that the best thing that I've learned is that being the best example is actually what makes them want to come on the journey with me. It's almost like vegans, right? I mean, we all see this happen a lot of times where people turn vegan and then their biggest thing is that they want to kind of make everyone else vegan, because they're just so excited about all the information they're learning. And then what you realize is that it actually backfires on them. But when they're vegan and they just focus on their journey and just focus on, inspiring people, without the force, if you will, then you'll notice that people kind of just come onto their journey with them. So, I hope that answers your question, Mercury.
I want to thank you for that. I thank Mercury and No Fear for their questions. And also, I'm vegan, so I definitely know what you're talking about. I used to...
Yeah, me too.
You walk up there like, get that chicken stick out your mouth.
Yeah, We all do. We're all guilty of it. But then, again, everything's a learning lesson, right? So we learned that, okay, well, that way isn't working. So, let's just do us. And then I'm pretty sure you can relate to that. People probably end up coming to you later on, asking you for information, asking you how to be vegan now once you stop to like force teach,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, where can we find more information about you for people that may want to ask you questions directly? People are sliding in the DM asking questions. Where can people contact you to ask you more questions, book you? Also, tell us about your book as well.
Okay, yeah, so let's talk about the book first. So the second book that I did is called The Root, How to Heal the Hurt and Grow Through the Dirt. And so that one was, I like to say it's an unstructured book because it's filled with poetry, anecdotes, nonfiction, fiction stories, activities, meditations, and it's all geared towards helping the individual learn how to emotionally and spiritually heal from the painful situations that they go through in life. It also teaches you how to overcome problems that you go through in life. And so it's a 300-page book, but it's a book full of, I would say, inspirational stories, that can help the individual, again, overcome the problems that they go through and the painful situations that they go through. So if anyone is interested in that, then yeah, you guys can definitely find that on my website. So my website is flywithme.com. So it's FLHIGHWITHME.com. And then you guys can also find me on social media at Brooke Write, BROOKEWRITE, or some of them may have Miss in front of it, MS, and then Brooke Write. And then, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And then if anyone is also interested in maybe send me an email, it's pretty much just my website, but info@flywithme.com.
Brooke, we appreciate you coming on to the podcast and giving us all this energy. It was exciting to have you here. This is a great day because it's the first time we've actually live streamed the show ever. And wait, I'm gonna knock on some wood. Everything seems to have gone all right. Nothing blew up. Everything's working well. All right, so we're so excited. I want to thank you so much. Everybody, give Brooke a hand and hit her up at her website. She got tons of information. She's a very helpful and inspiring person. And I thank you so much, Brooke. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I send you guys so much love, and I thank you guys for the question.
Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcasts. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. That is the De La Fit podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Special shout out goes to Miss Write herself, Brooke Write, for coming to the De La Fit podcast and speaking about how we can begin to tap into those 3 points, that 3-point power, which enables us to help navigate around negative thoughts. You know, I don't think we're ever going to be rid of negative thoughts. I think what we're going to start doing and progressing as human beings in doing so is learning how to maneuver and what category to place negative thoughts in. There's a balance. There's a balance that makes everything. So the negativity that we're dealing with, the negativity that pops in our heads, it comes about through so many different avenues. Our minds are so complex. So I think the more we begin to think in terms of mindfulness training, mindfulness, strength and resistance exercises, mindfulness, acuteness and sensitivity about our minds in general, I think we're going to progress much, much, much more as a civilization, as a race of individuals. With that said, I hope everybody enjoyed this broadcast. We love you. We want you to come back. Please hit us up. If you're interested, subscribe in the De La Fit podcast. Hit us up at www.delafitpodcast.com. If you would like us to bring on any guests, if you would like us to reach out to individuals, if you have a question for us, you can email us at delafit13@gmail.com. And guess what? We are on all social media platforms. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Hit us up. All you have to do is type in De La Fit Podcast. That's DALAFIT podcast. With that being said, please have a happy, healthy, peaceful day.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.